Everybody, welcome. If you're here in the DC area and you're watching this live, you know that it's a very miserable evening out there. It's been gray and wet all day. So we're gonna hopefully shine a little light inside. So let's begin with some quiet sitting practice. Find a way to arrange your body in a comfortable position. And feel wherever you're landing on the ground. And let the base of the body feel heavy, rooted, anchored. Thank you. And then in whatever form you're sitting, let the upper body feel light. Even if you're reclined in some way, just a sense of levity in the upper half of the body. And the spine elongated nicely from tail to crown. Let the jaw be loose, the face relaxed, the eyes soft. Closing the eyes is optional. And whether the eyes are closed or slightly open, and you feel a heaviness, almost like a protective cloak of the eyelids, helping to soften the vision realm. In between and amongst and around all of these areas of the body, can you tune into the fluid nature of your breath, sensing the way it's able to creep in and find its way through, animating all the corners of your insides. Notice the frequency and the intensity with which the mind tends to dart away and travel down a different road than the one that has to do with this moment. And just gently invite it back. Just a sweet reminder to begin again. Base of the body heavy, upper body light, spine elongated, facial features relaxed, and the breath fluid. Notice again if the mind has taken a step away, gently, compassionately bring it back. And then take a few deliberate big breaths in. Let them come all the way back out. And gently wake yourself up to your immediate surroundings in this present moment. And the space around you can wiggle and stretch. And if you've been lying down, you might consider sitting up for a bit. So once again, welcome. So glad to be here with you virtually and in person, in the flesh. Welcome. Nice to have you here. So we have some people in the physical space and we have some people in the ether. A little bit the topic of my talk tonight is how we shift around between these two realities, the digital world and the analog world. I'll start with a story recently, not that recently, a few years ago when my father moved away from the town where we all grew up and moved to Florida, and we all had to go through our boxes and get rid of our stuff, our childhood memorabilia, and I remember cleaning out these shoe boxes that I had kept from my childhood, and every shoebox was full of letters that I had received in the mail and folded up notes that I got from my friends in the classroom. If you're young enough, if you're old enough, you will remember this way of communicating with each other. And I found one of the notes was from a boy in my class. Do you like me? Yes, with a box, and no, with a box. Obviously, I left him hanging because I never returned the note, but it was in that shoebox along with all kinds of other memories, and it just, I think of that and so many other reminders of how differently the world was for me growing up than it is for my kids who are now in their early 20s growing up. Just radically different in every way. The way we communicate, the way we navigate, the way we learn, the way we conduct business, the way and the ways we get inspired, to cook or to explore or entertain or get educations. And I'm super grateful for the innumerable opportunities that this digital life has made possible. And I can't say that I would trade it for those old days without it, because life is far too convenient, and in many ways comfortable. If you're young, certainly you've heard my generation and older people talking about the anxiety of meeting somebody at a restaurant, and if they were late, you just had no idea, and you just had to sit there and wait and wait and wait. And so I in no way regret that aspect of life in digital form and how easy it has made things. And this is a both and situation. Until technology does its ultimate takeover of our brains, we are still analog beings. We still live in analog bodies, and we still have to relate in that way. The word itself, analog, comes from the same root as analogy, or something being analogous, which means there's a direct and ongoing relativity. There's relationship. and connection. In computer speak, an analog signal is a continuous signal, right? In human speak, it's this continuous signal that our bodies are connected to the ground and that our biological rhythms are connected to the way the earth turns on its axis and the way it revolves around the sun. And in everyday wisdom, it's really important, it's really highly valuable to tend to those analog aspects of the self. To find the time, as challenging as it is, and I'm telling myself this every day, to put down the devices. To find ways of being in one another's presence. And the irony does not escape me that while I have the physical presence of those of you who are here, I'm also incredibly grateful and in honor of the digital presence of those of you who are joining in that way. But even more than that, to find ways to be with our own physical presence with ease and contentment, to be able to sit these bodies down and to just be there for them, for ourselves, so that we might start to sense our own hearts beating, to feel the vibrational quality of the inner workings of being in this analog body. And that's one of the great gifts of a meditation practice is to work with that experience. So let's do a little bit more sitting practice with that now. And the invitation is to be in the analog body in terms of the relationship of mind to the body, the relationship of this cognition that we have that knows our own mind and that knows we are in a body, and to feel the body itself. So we can start with a little bit of body scan, and then we'll just stay quiet for another little stretch of time. So once again, feeling the base of the body getting heavy, anchored and rooted in the upper body, light and free, and the breath fluid. And let's come to the crown of the head with awareness, the very top, the scalp. Picture it, picture yourself underneath it, taking form on the way down. And feel into your brow, your forehead, the sides and the back of your head. And your ears, eyes and nose and jaw and mouth. Awareness of the throat and the back of your neck. And the tops of your shoulders draping down into the arms, the full length through the elbows and wrists, palms and fingers. Chest and the upper back. Creating this protective home for the heart and the lungs. rib cage, and extending down the mid-spine, the belly in the front, and the mid and lower back, lower belly and pelvis. This cradle for the spine and the upright portion of our bodies. Moving through the legs, down through the knees, ankles, the feet, the toes. So this gentle encasement that the body provides for this fully animate being in its analog form, in constant relationship with all that's around it. And we can sit and breathe. And when you notice the mind drifting away, choose one spot in the body, one place to relocate awareness and acknowledge its analog essence in relationship to another part in the body. This continuous signal of connection that keeps us whole and functional in the world. Check in with your awareness. Are you here right now? Have you gone away somewhere? Just gently come back. Find a place in the body that you can relate to. And feed that relation with breath. Feed that place with an awareness of the continuous and the contiguous nature of your full physical form that's providing you an opportunity to be here in this moment as you are. And invite the next few breaths in a little deeper, a little longer, with a little extra emphasis. And come back to your immediate surroundings. So one of the ways in which mindfulness practice can be so powerful is that we orient ourselves to the ordinary with an extraordinary perspective. The definition of mindfulness in its original intent, as far as we know, is that we acknowledge, that we recognize, that we recognize, so start to create a new understanding of that which we ordinarily find of no interest, like our leg, or like the sidewalk, or our toothbrush. Just simple, maybe boring kinds of things. That a mindfulness approach to these things is that we see them in a new way, that we're so profoundly present for these things that ordinarily we discount or take for granted, that that we realize that life is full of extraordinary moments. So recently, during as I was practicing a really structured form of meditation, that I was being guided to look directly ahead at whatever. Just got a comment. Marla loves her toothbrushes. I actually love my toothbrush. I use a Quip. It's divine. Anyway, so the guidance in this form is with eyes open to look directly ahead at whatever's in my line of sight. And in this case, it's out my bedroom window, and it happens to be the back of my neighbor's shed. Like, that's what I look at if I look straight ahead, where I sit for meditation during cold weather. When it's warm, I get to go outside on my balcony. So this is not a new sight for me. I've been looking at the back of this shed ever since I've been living in this particular house, and it's been that view for that many days that I have meditated there. So the guidance is of this form, this practice, is to look at the thing and analyze it from three different understandings. First understanding is that I have eyes that are seeing this thing. So it's the actual sense faculty of my eyes. Second is the thing that my eyes are seeing. So the form, the shape, the color, in this case, of this shed. And the third this is where it gets a little trippy, is the I consciousness that is making some intelligent sense of what is being seen. So it's having some idea about what this form and shape and colorful thing is. And as we know, depending on who we are, that I consciousness can take on very different forms. If I were looking with one eye consciousness, I would see this shed and think, that thing is really unsightly, and I can't wait for the trees that we planted to grow tall enough to shield it. If I was using eye consciousness to look at a tennis ball and I was my dog with that eye consciousness, I would be ready to be having the time of my life as soon as Annie picks up that ball and throws it for me to go and fetch. So when we break down our experience, our sensory experience in these analog bodies to these different forms of relating to the things that are in front of us, what's revealed is a reorientation to the sensory experience and a sort of comforting sense of emptiness. That the density of our perceived world is just simply the way we're cognating it. And the density of the perceived world can be really profoundly burdensome, because then we ascribe permanence to things. Like, oh, this ugly shed is never going to go away. I'm just stuck looking at it, and watching these trees try to grow is like watching a pot of water and waiting for it to boil. It takes forever when I see it that way. This idea of emptiness in Buddhism, the word is shunyata, and it's a way of seeing the world that reminds us that everything that exists is nothing more than a phenomenon that is arising as a result of the thing that arose prior to it. So everything is just this analog or analogous series of events. One thing causes the next thing, and that causes the next thing, and that causes the next thing. One thing that happens proportionate to its most adjacent event, and so on and so on and so on. Everything is relative, and the benefit of this is that things don't feel so heavy and burdensome and overwhelming. This can be a profound freedom. So when I was looking at this shed, suddenly I saw the differentiation in the wood. And for the first time, I saw that some panels were vertical and some were horizontal. And some were more painted white than others. And there were little speckles of color. And I felt like I was seeing through that shed wall. And it became inviting. And I became more inviting to its image. I felt receptive of it. I felt inclusive of it, as opposed to trying to push it away or hold my breath until the trees shaded from my sight. And that felt very comforting. It felt very freeing. It freed me of this silly, bothersome annoyance of this thing that I have to look at when I look out my bedroom window. I won't go so far as to say it became a thing of beauty, but it became a thing of different interest. I was being mindful, and it was lovely. So if you can see something right now, if you'd like to practice this a little bit, then feel free. If not, disregard the prompts and just breathe and sit however you'd like. But see what your eyes catch. It's fine to do this lying down. You can be looking at the ceiling or whatever's above you. Make sure the body feels supported and at ease and comfortable. Take a few stretches of awareness of your breath. Now bring your awareness to your eyes. Just understand that this particular sense faculty is the thing that is in your body that allows you to see, and it's doing its work. And then become aware of whatever is in your line of sight. The shape, the color, the form. And then in this sort of experience of metacognition, understand that it is I consciousness that is making decisions about what it's apprehending. So how you apprehend, how you understand the thing that you're looking at. And then get a little more focused, a little more clear, a little more interested in what you see. Let it shape shift a little bit if it will. Speckles on a ceiling may become like stars in a constellation. Planks of wood may become a palette for paint, for color. A tennis ball may become the greatest toy that ever was. Let the visuals of the thing be more pronounced. And then with another breath, just let the vision go. And if closing your eyes feels like the thing to do, you can let that happen. And now just simply rest. Rest in a state of clarity, soft ease inside. Take a few more easy breaths. And now with a little more emphasis on the last few breaths. Luxuriate in these last moments of deliberate practice. And then one more big scoop of breath in and let it all release. And if you're lying down, you can take some time to transition to sit. Gather up your palms in front of the heart and release your head down. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings find ways to relate to each one and one another with ease and compassion. May all beings find ways to see the emptiness of things as a gift of lightness and freedom. May all beings be at peace. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.